A young man counts the fallen enemies, noting there were about 30 slave traders, and remarks how unexpectedly easy the fight was. A guard orders the captured traders to keep moving. While the young man decides to leave the slave traders to the guards, he then approaches a hidden door, revealing a group of frightened children huddled together in the shadows. The young man looks at the children, his expression serious as he addresses them. The children, a mix of races including an elf, appear scared and vulnerable, their clothes tattered and their bodies trembling. He softly acknowledges them, recognizing their plight. The children remain terrified, shrinking back as the young man contemplates what to do next. He reassures them that they are safe now but worries that if he leaves them alone, the slave traders will come back for them. His concern deepens as he considers the responsibility he must take. The young man grips the hilt of his sword, questioning aloud the purpose behind his wielding it. He then raises a hand in a friendly gesture, trying to ease the children's fear, admitting he understands their distrust but insists he is not a bad adult. He declares himself the only one who can raise these children, determined to protect and care for them despite the daunting task ahead. The children sit quietly, their eyes wide with uncertainty as the young man holds up 2 dresses, trying to decide which to give them. The peaceful countryside surrounds the small house where they now stay. The children cautiously approach, but one accidentally bumps into the young man, causing a small commotion. He winces but smiles, enduring their playful teasing as one girl sticks out her tongue in defiance. He sighs, realizing the challenge ahead but remains patient. The young man attempts to cook, flipping food in a pan while the children watch with mixed expressions of curiosity and concern. He nearly drops the food, startled by their sudden attention. The children eagerly help prepare the meal, chopping vegetables and mixing ingredients with determination. Suddenly, 2 girls wield wooden swords, playfully challenging him, their enthusiasm infectious despite his surprise. Outside, the young man leads the children in sword practice, each gripping a wooden blade with focus. He demonstrates a swing, encouraging them to mimic his movements. One girl hesitates, but a gentle pat on the head from the young man brings a shy smile to her face, easing her nerves. His reassuring thumbs up boosts their confidence, turning training into a moment of bonding and growth. 5 years later, the young man sits reading when the children suddenly burst into the room, shouting his name with joy. They leap onto him in a lively group hug, overwhelming him with their affection. He struggles under their weight but smiles warmly, calling out their names in return. The children giggle, teasing him about being heavy, their bond stronger than ever as they fill the room with laughter and warmth. The group of companions expresses deep gratitude, thanking him for everything up to this point. They remind him of the day he saved them and how much he has taught them since. Asking for whom he wielded his sword, holding the sword firmly, they vow to carry his teachings in their hearts as they set out on their journey. The companions cheerfully announce their departure, waving goodbye and urging him to take care. He smiles warmly, responding that he'll see them again. As they leave, he quietly calls out their names, a mix of farewell and hope lingering in the air. Suddenly, a massive magical beast roars fiercely, demanding Alize-san to wake up. The young man exhales deeply, preparing himself mentally for the challenge ahead. He launches into action, delivering a powerful kick to the beast while reprimanding Ruin for holding back. He reminds her that he never trained her to struggle against such a formidable magical beast. She acknowledges his words with a respectful affirmation as the battle intensifies. Ruin leaps into the air, swinging her sword fiercely at the massive magical beast. She apologizes urgently to Alize-san as she attacks, clearly worried about his safety. Alize-san kneels, brushing dirt off his hands, and smiles warmly, telling her it's not her fault for his falling asleep and thanks her for the help. He praises Ruin's strike just now and notices her hesitation, asking if she's been having that dream again. Ruin grabs Alize-san's arm eagerly, eyes wide as she asks if he really means it. He smiles softly, then gently pats her head, calling her a good girl for doing her best. They walk side by side through the forest, Ruin asking if it was that dream again. Alize-san reflects that 15 years ago, after defeating a slave trader, he suddenly ended up with 5 daughters. Now, 10 years later, those girls have set out on their own. He admits he's just an old man passing time, teaching Ruin how to wield a sword in this rural village. He laments how he's grown weak, falling asleep during practice, but still finds the present version of himself wonderful. Alize-san reassures Ruin that she's fine now and praises her strength, saying the village looks like it can be protected by her alone even without him. She grabs his sleeve, pleading to keep training despite his refusal. Her eyes well up as she accuses him of planning to leave the village soon. Alize-san admits his body has grown dull from the relaxed village life and that he wants to retrain himself from scratch. Ruin insists he really plans to go, but he tells her she's become strong and that her earlier beast hunt was impressive. She declares she believes he can protect the village perfectly well. Suddenly, Ruin lunges at him, catching him off guard. Alize-san braces himself as Ruin demands he take her seriously. She vows to defeat him at his best and prevent him from leaving the village. He finally agrees, smiling and challenging her to make him serious, promising to give her a lesson. Ruin launches a fierce attack, declaring she became strong to live up to his expectations and to defeat him here. She swears to make him forget all about the daughters he keeps reminiscing over, charging forward with determination. Alize-san warns Ruin not to focus solely on swinging her sword, reminding her that fighting a person differs from fighting a beast. He critiques her loose guard and lazy pivot foot, stepping in to correct her stance as she winces from the sword grazing her, frustrated. She questions if this is all the advice he has, insisting she's strong enough to defeat even magical beasts now. Determined, she refuses to give up at this level. Ruin charges forward, but Alize-san executes a leg sweep, catching her off balance. She braces herself with her sword to stabilize, surprised by the move, but quickly realizes she can't land a hit on him. Her expression tightens with frustration as she struggles to keep up. As Ruin stumbles, Alize-san catches her midfall, holding her firmly. He pleads with her to protect the village's people from magical beasts if it's her who stands guard. Ruin wipes tears away, her resolve shaken but still burning. Night falls as Alize-san walks away through the village, reflecting quietly. The village chief recalls how Ruin was in tears, pleading with Alize-san to stay. She sees him as a father figure, grateful for teaching Ruin the sword and giving her a reason to live after her parents were killed by a magical beast. Alize-san apologizes for being a burden until the end, acknowledging the weight of his role. Alize-san quietly confirms he will leave the village tomorrow, apologizing as he remains firm despite the elder's concern. The elder warns that Ruin plans to secretly follow him, which shocks Alize-san. The elder orders Ruin to be brought to him the next day under the night sky. Ruin clings to Alize-san, pleading for him not to go and asking why he must journey away. He admits his selfishness but remains resolute. She looks up at him, searching for answers, while he prepares to depart, calling her name softly. Alize-san entrusts Ruin with his sword, explaining it is a treasured blade inherited from his master. She grasps the sword with wide eyes, understanding the gravity of his trust. He promises to return once his journey's purpose is fulfilled. Revealing this is the first time he has shared this with her. Alize-san recalls the promise made 10 years ago when a group of girls set out on a journey. They vowed to return distinguished and be welcomed back by the village. Ruin, moved to tears, holds the sword tightly as Alize-san asks if she will keep that promise, while she wonders if anyone will remember such a vow. Alize-san asks if Ruin would ever forget a promise made to him. She recalls her own vow, determined never to forget no matter how many years or decades pass, and insists she would scold him if he did. She believes the others feel the same and vows to keep her promise to them, tears welling as she is comforted to stop crying. Alize-san tells her farewells should be for smiling, not tears, wanting to remember her best smile. She promises to wait for his return no matter how long it takes, smiling through her tears as she holds the sword tightly. She affirms she will be waiting, her resolve shining as a crowd of villagers stands behind her in support. Alize-san stands on a cliff, declaring he made a promise to see everyone again. He calls out the names of his comrades one by one. Akane, Asha, Nina, Mia, and Lyun, reflecting on the bond they share and the promise that drives him forward. Surrounded by trees, Alize-san quietly wonders what his friends are doing now. Their faces unseen but their names echoing in his heart, fueling his determination to fulfill the promise and reunite with them all. Lyun sits against a tree, troubled, confessing a terrible feeling about the signs of the Demon King's army regenerating in the demon forest. She confirms the rumors are true just as a voice calls out to her urgently. Standing tall, Lyun introduces herself as Hero Lyun when approached by two knights who ask about the situation. She reports the Demon King's army is indeed regenerating as they speak, confirming the rumors. The knights explain that the demons are still closer to slimes but have already preyed on humans. Lyun admits she cannot handle the growing numbers alone. Questioning if anything can be done with her power as a hero, she urges issuing a subjugation request to adventurers, hoping someone can break through the crisis. Lyun reflects that only one person can handle this, while elsewhere Alize-san enters the demon forest, wondering how many years it has been since he last came here. He plans to reach the city area after passing through and demands to know what the forest wants from him. He admits he acted cool for his cute disciple when leaving the village but now must see his precious daughters as soon as possible. He warns that if anyone plans to get in his way, they've got some nerve. With a confident smirk, he draws his sword and declares he'll play with them. Alize-san freezes as something slithers near his feet, his expression sharp with sudden alert. He grips his sword tightly, eyes widening at the sight of strange, steaming creatures emerging from the ground. He mutters in disbelief, recognizing these as dangerous beings. He stumbles backward as one of the creatures attacks, narrowly avoiding a corrosive liquid. Alarmed, he realizes these are no ordinary slimes but lethal monsters capable of instant death upon contact. He swiftly draws his sword, preparing to strike back with a fierce resolve. Despite his efforts, Alize-san's attacks fail to harm the slimes, which seem to dissolve stone and neutralize his strikes, surrounded by countless deadly slimes. He questions their ability to consume even stone, his tension mounting as he struggles to find a way out. The situation turns dire as the slimes close in, but a sudden shout interrupts the chaos. Lyun appears, addressing her knights and confirming the arrival of Lord Alize. She wonders if the man fighting the slimes could be him, and the knights respond affirmatively, setting the stage for a critical encounter. An elf clad in a flowing cape calmly states that if this were Lord Alize, the situation would have been resolved instantly. A knight questions the elf, recalling that all the heroes went to defeat the Demon King. Yet Lord Alize did not join them. The elf coldly presses the knight, asking if he just insulted Lord Alize, pressing a sword to his throat. The knight, now on the ground and sweating, insists he only meant that if Lady Lyun couldn't handle it, then even Lord Alize might not manage alone. Another knight reflects that Lord Alize's strength must be real, recalling how he once cleared a dungeon alone while protecting the 5 of them. The elf affirms that the man will find a way to clear any situation, smiling softly. The man fighting the slimes notes that corrosive liquid ruins weapons and makes physical combat impossible, making the situation seem hopeless at first. Yet he senses something is off as he dodges and maneuvers among the deadly slimes. He prepares to use the environment to his advantage despite the danger. He wonders why the trees in this forest aren't melting from the corrosive slime. Realizing the breakthrough lies in the trees themselves, he grabs a large branch, calling on the strength of the demon forest to aid him as he prepares to strike. The man realizes the demon forest soil is saturated with dense mana, granting the trees powerful magic resistance. He notes that despite the corrosive slimes, the trees remain unharmed, making this a race against time. He grips a large branch, preparing to strike. He swings the branch, narrowly avoiding the slime's corrosive liquid as he moves swiftly, landing safely. He confirms he made it just in time and prepares for the next move. The man deduces that the slimes cannot melt the demon forest trees. With this knowledge, he confidently swings the wooden branch, smashing the slimes with ease. He grins, declaring wiping out the slimes is now simple. Reflecting on his past, he recalls crafting wooden swords for the girls and marvels at how this seemingly silly skill now proves invaluable. He explains the wood's magic resistance likely neutralizes the acid, meaning a sword made from this wood can actually kill the slimes. Suddenly, he senses something and looks up, alert. The man recoils in disgust, holding a wooden branch covered in melted chunks of flesh. He exclaims at the grotesque sight, realizing the slime's corrosive acid is far worse than expected. He notes that piercing the center of a slime causes it to lose form and die, revealing that once their weakness is known, they're just normal slimes. With renewed confidence, he smirks and declares he's ready to try again. Brandishing the wooden branch like a sword, he challenges any obstacle to move aside, his expression determined and confident. Stepping carefully through the forest, he suddenly notices a change and breathes a sigh of relief, announcing he's finally out of the forest. He looks ahead, spotting a sprawling city surrounded by thick walls. He identifies it as Fortress City Arcana, a massive military metropolis. The fortress city stands imposing against the landscape, positioned right next to the demon forest. The man reflects on the city's growth, fueled by the abundant mana from the forest. He walks toward the city gates, acknowledging that passing through them means entering a big city for the first time in a decade. The man nervously approaches the city gate, thinking to himself how anxious he feels. The guards at the gate notice him and exchange surprised glances, whispering that a person is approaching. The man greets the gatekeeper cheerfully, praising their work during the shift, causing the guards to react with cautious curiosity. Suddenly, the guards draw their spears and shout that someone has come out of the demon forest. The man raises his hands in alarm, insisting he is just an adventurer. The guards sternly remind him of strict orders forbidding anyone from the demon forest to enter Arcana, their tone harsh and unyielding. The man protests loudly, shocked by their hostility. Inside the gatehouse, a soldier explains that reports say no human should survive coming back from the demon forest. They suggest that anyone appearing from there is likely a slime mimicking a human. Just as the hero predicted, the guards present a document to the man, demanding proof of his identity. The man insists he is clearly human and demands they look at his credentials. The man holds up his adventurer card, stating only humans possess such cards. The guards scrutinize it carefully, acknowledging it looks real but remain skeptical. They notice the card's rank is A, causing surprise among them. The man mocks the guards, calling them old and questioning their judgment. One guard reads the name on the card aloud. Alize. The man, startled, calls out Lord Alize? As several armored guards suddenly surround him, spears pointed and ready, confused, he questions their sudden aggression, but the soldiers command to secure him immediately, catching him off guard. Bound and held captive, the man hears the guards announce they've caught an impostor of Lord Alize. One officer expresses amazement at the boldness to impersonate such a figure, while another wonders about the slime theory. The man insists he can't be a slime since he's tied up, but the guards dismiss his protests, mocking his supposed rank status as a sham. He admits he was holding back to avoid hurting them, but they accuse him of just saying whatever he wants. As the guards escort him through the town, the man asks about the imposter claim, his gaze shifting to a statue of a heroic figure wielding a large sword. He wonders who the statue represents, sensing something off. His thoughts sharpen as he recalls a fleeting glimpse of movement out of the corner of his eye. He concludes that if his hunch is correct, there's no time to waste. Suddenly, a guard notices the rope binding the man has loosened, shouting a warning. The man seizes the moment as the guards scramble to resecure him. The man swiftly dodges a spear thrust from a guard, breaking free from his bindings. He apologizes as he declares he'll return to surrender later. While the guards shout in surprise, he sprints away, pleading to make it in time, as the guards curse his escape and label him a criminal. A young woman sits on the ground, trembling and clutching her dress as two men loom over her with sinister smiles. One remarks she looks like a fine slave, confirming their cruel intentions. The men discuss their business, relieved no one is following them as requested. They recall how a man wiped out the slavers 15 years ago, halting their trade, but now they can resume. The woman winces in fear, realizing what awaits her, and suddenly reacts in shock as one of the men approaches. The slavers laugh and debate what to do next, while one of them prepares to abuse the woman, who screams desperately for help. Suddenly, the man who escaped bursts in, raising his fist as he leaps to her rescue. The man lunges forward, shouting fiercely at the slavers, demanding to know what they think they're doing. He forcefully throws one of them to the ground, causing a loud impact. The others stand frozen in shock, staring down at the fallen figure and the trembling woman clutching her dress in the corner. The man clenches his fist, asserting that he is not just some old man but someone named Alize. The slavers recoil in fear and confusion, demanding to know who he really is. Alize stands protectively in front of the woman, his resolve clear as she looks up at him with a mixture of hope and relief. The young woman, clutching her dress, looks up in surprise and relief, whispering Alize's name. He reassures her gently that it's all right now, sensing her fear and calming her with a steady presence. The slavers tense as they spot him approaching. Shouting that their target has vanished, Alize moves swiftly, his reaction sharp and precise, prompting one slaver to question if he is an adventurer. One slaver throws a knife, shouting in disbelief that an adventurer would stoop to guarding slave traders. Alize dodges effortlessly, warning them not to kidnap children, then swiftly kicks one slaver down with a powerful strike. The remaining slavers recoil in pain and fear as Alize steps forward, condemning them for aiding evil despite their circumstances. His gaze hardens as he declares his absolute despise for scumbags like them, leaving them trembling. Alize questions what they mean by legend as he dodges a frantic attack, shouting that he didn't sign up to fight a legend. Suddenly, a young girl clings tightly to his waist, thanking him for saving her and calling him the legendary great hero, Alize-sama. He turns in surprise, struggling to respond to her earnest gratitude. He reflects that this kid is clearly mistaking him for someone else, but decides not to shatter her dreams. He gently reassures her that he came to this town to save her, smiling warmly as she looks up at him with hope. A large man calls out desperately for Anna, rushing to embrace her with relief. Anna runs to her father, shouting his name joyfully. Alize watches quietly, recalling how his own daughters were about the same age when he first met them, understanding the father's worry and relief. The large man accuses Alize of being the one who kidnapped Anna, causing Alize to raise his hands in protest and ask him to listen. Anna screams in anguish, overwhelmed by the accusation. The scene shifts to a peaceful village evening, where a feast is laid out on a table, signaling a moment of calm after the turmoil. The large man apologizes sincerely for accusing Alize without realizing he was Anna's savior. Alize brushes it off, saying it couldn't be helped in that situation. A woman nearby questions if such a feast is really necessary. Anna's mother explains that Anna insisted on it, refusing to thank anyone else or risk punishment from the heroes. Anna beams happily, grateful for the meal. Alize contemplates the situation, realizing he can use the confusion about his name to his advantage. He thinks about the legendary great hero sharing his name and how he might contact the heroes and see his daughters again. He thanks the man for the information and prepares to leave, stating he has an important promise and a lead. The man asks if he's going somewhere, watching him closely. The large man pours a drink and asks Alize if his name is really Alize. Mentioning that Anna said the same, he reveals that heroes are searching everywhere for the great hero, handing out flyers. He explains that Alize-sama is a revered figure, founder of the 5 heroes who defeated the Demon King, and that his daughter is a devoted fan. Alize looks surprised, noting they don't look alike. The large man suddenly drops to his knees, begging Alize to stay in the house forever for Anna's happiness. Alize is shocked by the outburst and protests. Not wanting to see a grown man begging, Alize explains that adventurers have lost most of their work due to an increase in strange slimes in the demon forest. Dangerous jobs have become more common, putting Anna in danger. The man pleads desperately, emphasizing the stakes. The man bows deeply, pleading that if Alize's name is used, Anna won't face any danger. Alize reflects silently, realizing he isn't the only one targeted by those exploiting the name. The man clenches his fist, acknowledging the pain of wanting to protect a daughter. He asks if Alize will accept his offer, calling him respectfully by name. Alize is urged to raise his head, breaking the desperate posture. Alize apologizes quietly, revealing he has daughters too. Precious though not blood-related, he explains those daughters have grown and are waiting for him, so he must reunite with them. The man listens, touched, as Alize's hand drops, murmuring the word, daughters. The man begs once more for Alize to stay in the house forever, emphasizing it's for Anna's happiness. Alize reacts with surprise and mild frustration at the sudden outburst, refusing to see a grown man begging on his knees. He explains that strange slimes have recently increased in the demon forest, causing adventurers who hunt monsters to lose most of their work, which puts Anna in danger as well. Alize turns to leave, stating he defeated dozens of monsters to get here. The man reacts with shock. The scene shifts outside to the Adventurers Guild building as the sun sets, signaling the next phase of Alize's journey. A young woman with glasses explains that exterminating slimes in the demon forest is too dangerous, so they generally refuse anyone below B rank. A man confidently shows his A rank adventurer card, insisting it's fine. A shocked older man exclaims in disbelief that the man was an A rank adventurer, while a young girl asks if A rank is that amazing. The older man quizzes the young girl about her knowledge of adventurers, revealing most are ranked C, with only a few pushing to B or higher. He explains that going beyond A rank means protecting people from hardships and disasters, making them superhuman adventurers. The girl teases her father for being weird, while the man smiles knowingly. The young girl proudly declares Alize-sama is a legendary great hero, far more amazing than an A rank. The man agrees quietly as he prepares to leave, carrying a sack over his shoulder. The older man and girl wave him off, wishing him to come back alive. The older man suddenly calls out to stop him, warning that entry into the demon forest is currently prohibited. A surprised guard questions the mention of slime extermination. The older man explains that the man leaving accepted a slime extermination quest. Suddenly, a figure clad in armor and a cape appears, identified as Lyun-sama, the Godspeed and one of the 5 heroes, rumored to have annihilated an entire Demon King's army alone. The older man reacts with awe and recognition. A guard reports that slime sightings have decreased, calling the quest a wasted trip. The older man and young girl recognize the returning adventurer, noting he'll be back early. The man himself is puzzled, unable to find any slimes and questioning what is happening. The adventurer senses a dreadful atmosphere clinging to his skin. He acknowledges an enemy worse than slimes lies ahead. Though he hesitates to rely on others, determined, he prepares himself quietly, gripping a small sack. Resolving to face the threat, he decides to enter the demon forest. Deep inside, a figure bound by vines awakens, confused and struggling to move. The bound woman recalls scouting the demon forest and arriving at a slime-free area before being trapped by vines. She finds herself powerless, unable to break free, when suddenly she hears a voice asking if she is awake. A demon with horns and wings taunts the bound woman, revealing himself as Gagidas, the 3rd seat of the Demon King's Army Knights of the Round Table. He mocks her survival, blaming human incompetence for his revival. The woman struggles against her bonds, defiantly vowing to kill him no matter how many times he revives. Gagidas grins, claiming he trapped her with vines that drain her magic power, inviting her to a deadly game. The demon explains the vines are a magical plant slowly absorbing her magic, and he gestures dramatically, declaring the start of an endless show. The woman, still tied up, reacts in shock as black slime-like tendrils begin to emerge around her. She gasps, realizing these are slimes. The slimes creep closer, causing her to panic as they begin to envelop her. She struggles, noting her body will be eaten at this rate. Gagidas reassures her that with her magic power, the slimes can't eat her, but the vines will continue to sap her strength. The woman cries out in pain and fear as the vines tighten and the slimes close in. The woman screams in agony as the vines tighten around her head, blindfolding her. She fears her body will be consumed if she succumbs. Gagidas taunts her, explaining the vines will slowly absorb her magic power, turning this into a game of endurance until she is overwhelmed by the slimes. The woman, blindfolded and weakened, questions her own frailty as memories flood back. She was always the weakest among her group, often on the verge of breaking. Despite this, one person stood firmly by her side, embodying what Alize-sama means to her. She recalls how that person always supported her, and even now, she dreams that Alize-sama is searching for her somewhere, ready to rescue her in times of need. Yet, despite this hope, she admits to herself that she is already lost. The demon's voice cuts through her despair, urging her to surrender and join him as a demon, promising to stop the torment if she apologizes. Suddenly, a presence approaches at incredible speed, causing the demon to question if the attacker is human. The woman desperately commands the slimes to protect her as the attacker strikes, creating a powerful barrier that no one can penetrate. The attacker confidently claims they can handle any human threat with a single wall, daring the demon to let the slimes consume and dissolve his entire body. The man kneels, catching his breath after cutting through the slime wall, leaving the demon stunned and questioning what just happened. The demon's eyes widen as he realizes an opening has appeared. Seizing the moment, the man lunges forward with fierce determination, closing the distance instantly. The demon is shocked by the speed and power. Doubting a human could defeat the slimes at such range, the man regrets not finishing the demon off immediately. The demon lashes out, commanding the man to melt and disappear. But the man dodges nimbly, preparing to strike again. The demon struggles to comprehend how a human could overcome the slime's power. With a powerful overhead strike, the man attacks the demon directly, declaring that he truly is the boss of the slimes. The demon screams in frustration as his slime magic fails to affect the man. The man grips his sword firmly, climbing up the slime-covered surface with calm determination. He wonders why someone like this is here, lamenting that his plan and slime magic, which were supposed to be perfect, have failed. The demon reflects on the slime's invincibility, convinced no mere human could defeat them, and questions if this man could be the hero. The demon, shocked, asks if the man is a descendant of the hero. The man, puzzled, wonders why the demon is panicking. The demon recalls the hero's bloodline was eradicated by the demon lord and doubts the man's strength. Though he notes the sword the man wields is likely made from the demon forest's wood, effective against slimes. The demon explains that destroying slimes is impossible unless their core is shattered in a single strike, which is how he made them. The man moves swiftly, seeing through the slime's weak points and shattering them instantly. The demon, stunned, demands to know who this man really is. The man charges at the demon, declaring the demon is about to be defeated. The demon, surprised by the man's speed, warns not to underestimate him. But the man presses the attack relentlessly. Bound and blindfolded, the elf Lyun struggles to free herself, realizing that thanks to Gagidas entering battle, the slimes have vanished, giving her a chance to escape. She hears a voice she recognizes as Alize-sama's and clings to hope that calling for help will reach him. Despite her restraints, Lyun insists she is just dead weight and urges understanding, recalling Alize-sama's advice to listen carefully and act wisely in dire situations. She steels herself, determined to do what she can now. The man with the sword reflects on Alize-sama's wisdom that strength and weakness are two sides of the same coin, and that a strong opponent always has an opening. He recalls being taught to hone his wisdom to not overlook what lies behind. Preparing to exploit any chance, Lyun, still bound and blindfolded, braces herself for action. Lyun desperately calls out to Alize-sama for help, identifying herself. While the man hears her plea and turns sharply, she waits anxiously as the man acknowledges her voice, confirming it is indeed Lyun. The man shouts that the enemy wants to be saved and to save someone, warning that as long as that opening exists in their hearts, they will never defeat demons. The demon taunts the bound elf, declaring she will die right here because of her obsession with protecting others. The man struggles to stand, gripping his sword tightly as the demon demands no unnecessary negotiations and threatens to kill Lyun if he defies him. The man hesitates, torn over what to do, as the demon orders him to drop his sword with a cruel smile. The demon wonders why the man stopped and smirks, while the man suddenly realizes the truth and yells for Lyun to run away, calling the others fools. The demon laughs wildly, threatening to melt the man with his slimes if he tries to protect Lyun. The man, sweating and desperate, thinks about how he believed in Gagidas and how he knew this cowardly trick would be used. He fears he will die here despite finally reuniting with Lyun. The demon accuses Alize-sama of always maintaining absolute superiority, explaining that this is why his vines remain untouched. He claims the weakness behind Alize-sama's strength is the vines draining magic power from him. Even if the opening to drain it is brief, Alize-sama, bound and blindfolded, grits his teeth, determined not to overlook this flaw. The demon roars in pain as the man shouts in shock. Recognizing the demon as Gagidas, Alize-sama struggles fiercely against his bonds. The man panics, realizing he must connect to the path Lyun opened. Rushing forward desperately, the demon wonders why Gagidas is suddenly suffering. The man strikes the demon hard, causing black slime to splatter from its face. He gasps in disbelief, realizing the demon was a slime all along. The bound elf questions this revelation, stunned that Gagidas is a slime. The man kneels beside the defeated demon's slime-like body, shocked as the elf confirms the demon's body has turned into a withered lump of flesh, resembling a slime. The man asks if the elf really defeated him, overwhelmed by the truth. The man questions if they truly defeated the enemy, doubting he would have been caught if it were only him. He credits Lyun for their success and calls out to Alize-sama. The bound elf, blindfolded, sits quietly nearby as the man kneels, addressing Lyun directly. Suddenly, the man notices the slime demon is still alive and shouts Lyun's name in alarm. The slime mocks the man's luck and warns that he should have let his magic be drained. It acknowledges the man's name, Alize, promising to remember it. The man asks if the bound elf is really Lyun and expresses sorrow over what she endured. He moves to remove the vines binding her, but she warns him not to. She suddenly shouts for Alize-sama to run away, fearing imminent danger. The slime demon admits Alize really defeated it, but calls him dangerous and vows to eliminate him for the demon lord's revival. It attacks swiftly, striking Alize's leg as he tries to evade, causing him to cry out in pain and struggle to stay on his feet. Concerned voices ask if Alize-sama is all right, but he insists he's fine despite letting the demon escape. He turns his attention to Lyun, urging her about the vines binding her. She pleads for him to stop, explaining how miserable it feels. He questions why, confused by her reaction. She admits she didn't want to reunite like this, looking so pathetic and weak. Lyun recalls her promise to become strong and the journey she set out on from Alize's side. She breaks down, begging him to abandon her because she's still the same weak Lyun. He listens quietly, a faint smile forming as she struggles with her feelings. Alize gently tells her she is not weak, neither now nor in the past. He thanks her for saving him, saying he's alive because of her. Tears fall as he calls her his greatest daughter, tenderly touching her face. Despite his injured leg, Alize reassures Lyun that protecting her made it no big deal. She apologizes for the damage caused by losing her magic. He insists they've made arrangements since they can't leave the forest like this. Suddenly, a large beast named Kamiya is called out, responding eagerly to their summons. He embraces Lyun warmly, telling her it's been a long time. She leans into him, and he smiles softly, calling her by name. He reflects on how nice it is to see his daughter grown up. Lyun, wearing a cloak of leaves, admits she's shown him something unsightly but insists she's fine. Making do with grass and leaves for clothes, he praises her strength, telling her she's grown so tough. A massive wolf approaches, stepping forward with a commanding presence. The man asks if someone called, drawing the wolf's attention. He questions Lyun if she knows Kamiya. Revealing the wolf as the guardian deity of the forest, Lyun reacts in shock, calling him Lord Ancient Wolf. The man wonders why Alize-sama is with the Ancient Wolf. The wolf grins slyly, explaining that Alize-sama's master is generous and that he's received an advance payment. The man jokes about the wolf's love for money, holding out coins and asking to be carried to town. Lyun is surprised by the wolf's childish behavior. The man asks where Alize-sama has been all this time, while the wolf lumbers forward. Riding the wolf through the forest, the man explains he was a sword instructor in a village at the Demon Forest Center for about 10 years. He mentions that everyone, especially Nina and Akane, has been enthusiastically looking for Alize-sama. Lyun smiles softly, saying everyone looks forward to seeing him. The man acknowledges this and looks ahead with a hopeful expression, preparing to move forward together. He questions if he's overthinking and silently pleads for nothing to go wrong. He regrets letting the demon escape, suspecting it was plotting something connected to the recent events in the demon forest. Every second feels critical. The elf softly calls his name, prompting him to confess he only wants to reunite with his daughters and create new memories, not just recall old smiles. That modest hope shines quietly within him. The scene shifts to a large structure under the sky, with a somber narration that his modest hope could be betrayed in the worst way. The demon lies hidden in the shadows, vowing not to let Alize escape. It declares Alize the one person it will kill with its own hands.